Welcome to KimAppa, your new favorite weekly cricket podcast. I'm Jarrod Kimber, a writer and all sorts of other things no one cares about. My co-host is Robin Uthappa, former Indian player who on the 19th of March 2007 made 3 runs against Bermuda, which means that as a podcast, we made a combined total of 3 runs against the might of Bermuda.
Horrible. Just horrible. How could you bring that memory up? How could you do that to me, buddy?
I made myself laugh so much that I'm not even sure if I played the bumper to the show right. Welcome again. Anything you need to tell us about the Bermuda knock that you remember?
I was nervous.
It was a World Cup, yeah? I mean, it wasn't, it was a proper game.
You're getting to open the batting with Sehwag, and you know that there's sort of Ganguly and there's Sachin Tendulkar up to bat next. And you know that this is a game where, as a batter, you want to score some runs, right? And, just build up that confidence because we lost the first game against... we lost the first game against Bangladesh. So we were like, okay, we really need to perform here and then score some runs. And so that that Sri Lanka game, we got to win. Otherwise, we're going to be out of the World Cup. So I was like, okay, got to make this count, buddy. 20 years old, 21 years old, got to make this count, buddy. No pressure with Sachin and sort of in the hut right now waiting to bat because they weren't happy about. I don't think they were really happy about not opening the batting and a youngster going because they really enjoyed playing the new ball and they would play well. Sure enough, third or fourth ball, I can't remember. I think second over, I got out and then Mr. Leverock took one for the ages and I'm now posted in posterity. Any World Cup.
It's funny because
you will always see Leverock go in there. And thank God that
it's so funny because any other failure you would make in a game like that, no one would ever remember it ever again. Like it would never be brought up. And this is like literally the thing that is shown all the time. And so like every time you're scrolling through the internet, you're just nicking the ball through to the slips and having a hanger taken off you, right? Like that dismissal might be one of the most watched dismissals in the history of cricket now. It's like up there with a Mike Gatting ball or Alistair Cook get bowled by Ryan Harris. Like you're like right at the top.
I reckon the Mike Gatting ball will beat me by a long way, man. By a long way.
Yeah, but yours is funnier.
Yeah.
Although his is pretty funny too, to be fair. To be fair, you're both pretty funny. At least in your case, it's known for the catch. And in Gatting's case, it's known for Mike Gatting. Anyway, of all the games I could have randomly picked, I thought that was the funniest one to come up with as well. My favorite fact about the Bermuda cricket team is that they don't wear helmets, but they also can't play the short ball very well. And it's a beautiful sight watching grown men try and play 85-mile-an-hour bounces in tournaments when they can't play the short ball, but refuse to wear a helmet because they're so masculine. Anyway, great cricket culture over in the Bermuda. I'm going to throw this to you straight away. Yesterday, there was a pretty persistent rumor that MS Dhoni was going to retire. I think it was media outlets being spooked by the fact his parents were at the game. And that put everyone off a little bit. And whether he is still about to retire or whatever, we heard Stephen Fleming talk about his knees and everything. My thing with retirement is people want people to retire because they don't think they're quite at their peak anymore. This isn't really a question about whether he's at his peak. Is MS Dhoni still a plus player in the IPL? I know he batted at number 9 in one game, but you would have to argue with his hitting ability at the end and his wicket keeping. He's probably still a plus over a backup, isn't he?
100%, without a doubt. I think he's certainly a plus. And I don't think it's about his ability as a batter. One of the things that you do notice is that he takes a little bit more time to get off the blocks right now.
Yeah.
Right? He, irrespective of what situation he comes in, he takes a little while to get off the blocks. But, and that's so different from how cricket is played at the moment, right? Right now, everyone's going hammer and tongs and kind of imploding, right? Or exploding, one of the two. It's just one of it's very binary. It's either works or it doesn't. There's no in between. And the in between today has become almost unacceptable, right? And so he's from that era of where you get set, and once you get set, or once you get not even set, once you get your eye in, then you go and be aggressive, right? And that's how he's played cricket his entire life. Is he going to change it at this point, at the back end of his career and the fag end of his career, not even the back end? Is it worth it as individually as an athlete? No, not worth it, right? I would say he would still bat in that same fashion that he's batted his entire career. But for it to be conducive for him and for CSK, I think the solution is go up at number 3, buddy. I think bat at number 3. Just take a few balls. Still play 35 balls. Still play 30 balls, 35 balls, right? God forbid you play 50 balls, or you play 60 balls and you score 100, right? He played 60 balls, he'll score 100. If he plays 60 balls, and if his body is short, right? Let Evan Conway or somebody else keep.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think that's fair. I mean, they've got backups. They don't need him to keep, do they?
No, they don't. You just need to have different you need to have different permutations and combinations. I would love to see a Dhoni batting up now, number 3, batting the way he does, because him batting there at number 3 is such a plus on so many different fronts for CSK. Now, imagine him batting at number 3, and then you have, let's say for conversation's sake, Sheikh Rashid batting at number 4, Shivam Dubey at number 5, right? And another youngster at number 6, right? Having him batting there is like lessons in IPL cricket that they will never get, right? And it'll enrich them, because if CSK believe that these are guys for the future for us, it will enrich them in ways that they will never experience before. Like for me, batting 5 ODI, or 6 ODIs with Sachin Tendulkar were chapters of cricket in my life that enriched me, like in a condensed manner that I could never have gotten, because the experience and the things that he will share about batsmanship in that partnership is wow, right?
Yeah.
And similarly, they can actually learn a lot. One has to accept, and I think on some level, CSK are in denial of the fact that they are in a rebuilding phase of their franchise. They need to acknowledge that, okay, we're in a rebuilding phase, albeit we have someone like MS Dhoni here, and he's a part of the rebuilding process, and that's why we're doing this, right? I reckon that would be an easier way to go, and also for us to see Dhoni being at his best and giving himself the chance to be at his best, because it's never the skill. He still has the fastest hands in the world as a wicketkeeper, still has the ability to bat and smash sixes, albeit he'll take a little bit of time. But I think if he bats at number 3, I think he'll score a lot of runs, and he'll help his team with that.
It's really interesting because, like, last year, he actually turned himself into a pretty good death batter. Like, his strike rate was good, and he was whacking them, and he just doesn't quite look at that as sharp as he was last year. And it could just be that he's not feeling it, or, his form isn't there at the moment. Can I just talk about the wicket-keeping hands for a minute? I think you and I would both say, based on all the cricket we've seen, that he probably has the fastest wicket-keeping hands we've ever seen, and it's because he doesn't have any give, right? So every other wicket-keeper in the world has give, and he had that weird technique where his childhood coach put him in front of the motorbike, right? And he uses his pads, and he doesn't put his hands back like a normal wicket-keeper. But you know what annoys me more than anything? They will say, oh, he did that stumping in 0.22 seconds, but they don't do it for anyone else. And they don't compare him to anyone else. So all we ever know is that he's fast. It's like, it's like looking at a big thing of jelly beans and going, there's 7,883 jelly beans in there. And it's like, okay, but like, is that a lot of jelly beans? Is that not a lot of jelly beans? Like, I need slightly more information than just the number here. What are you worried if he does go up the order?
I'll pass the message, buddy. I'll actually pass the message that.
Yeah, tell them. Because if he's the fastest, I want to know. Because there are some guys who are slow, right? So Josh Butler was incredibly slow, because Josh Butler is terrified of missing the stumpings because he's missed so many in his life, right? Like, it's not his natural thing. So you can see with Josh Butler, he's like, is the ball in my hands? Is the ball in my hands? The ball is in my hands. The ball is in my hands. Now I'm going to take him off. I won't go into your wicket keeping. That's for another day. I've got a whole podcast just going through all the mistakes.
I've had this whole argument with MS when you were younger that I reckon my hands are faster than yours. And and then I remember when he got to the highest stumpings in the world. I conceded to him. I never conceded to him till that point.
when he broke the world record, I thought to myself, maybe I'm second fastest.
So I sent a message saying, All right, man. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm the second fastest stumper in the world. Because even me as wicketkeeper, I didn't have too much of a give.
Do you know what?
And I reckon
I
that
was going to
comes from a lot of.
say, there's a lot of bad. I don't want to say that you're a bad wicketkeeper, but I did sort of start the sentence that way. But what I was going to say is there are a lot of bad wicketkeepers who take the bails off very quickly, but they actually fumble more often, right? Like that's the difference. Is that if Ian Healy is the famous guy of having the most give, right? Like he always took the bails off and had very fast hands going back to the stumps, whereas a lot of wicketkeepers don't have soft hands and they can take the bails off really quickly. The problem is that a third of the time the ball just bounces off them like someone's throwing a fish at them, right? Like that's the difference. Is he very rarely fumbles. I'm not saying that you fumbled. I'm not even saying your hands were
fumbled.
You know that
I concede to the fact that I fumbled. I fumbled because I was
never saw it.
Sure. I'm sure you have.
I've got no notebooks. Let's just have a look. 2011 IPL notebook. Fumble. Missed run out. I don't even know what years your wicket kept. All right. Just one last thing on his batting. If you do bat him up the order, Shivam Dubé sort of covers him a little bit, but he can get stuck against spin a little bit now, right? So if you've got Conway and you've got Dubé and maybe Ravindra, you do have to tell all those other guys, look, he's probably only going to get singles at his end, right? Like, so there is a risk and reward from putting him up the order a little bit. But what you do is, this is going to sound like an insult. I don't mean it as an insult, but you turn him into like a high functioning Sun on the Rhine, right? It's a bonus for you to have him at the top of the order because it makes your entire batting so much longer, right?
I think he'd surprise you. To be very honest, I think he'd actually surprise all of us. Simply because I think that his ability, I just think he's probably not doing it because he's not very familiar with the position now, because he's batted at number 7 so much over the last 10-12 years. He's not familiar at batting at number 3, and he probably hasn't batted there for a really long time, which I think is why he's not considering it. But I do think if he considers it and gives himself 3 games, I think we'll see a very different MS Dhoni, and probably something that a lot of young cricket fans have not witnessed from Dhoni whatsoever, ever at all, right? So I think it's doable, and I genuinely feel if he goes up the order, he will get to play fast bowlers, which he thrives against. But also, once the spinner comes on, he won't take as much time to be aggressive, right? He will play the situation, right? If he's batting first, he will play the situation, right? And I reckon they should try it out. I think they should try it out.
So, okay, last one on that. When your knees are gone, and how are your knees? Are your knees okay? Are you a knees guy?
I'm pretty decent so far. Knock on wood.
Okay. So my knees are bad. I've got no cartilage in one knee and very little cartilage in the other knee, right? And I find that just some days everything works and some days it doesn't. And you see that with Andre Russell, right? Like there are some days with Andre Russell you're just like, has he become RoboCop? Has he forgotten how to move like a human being? And it's because it's essentially the bones banging on bones. So
yeah, and that's what's happening with MS. MS's situation is that. So his cartilage has been ground off, and which is why he's had to, like, he's managing a lot of things right now. But his knees are fine, from what I understand from the last time I spoke to him. His knees feel fine. I think it's his calves that are taking up a big chunk of his load right now. They're overworking.
Coming from a family of people with knee injuries, like, you don't want a big butt and a big thighs, right? And you don't want to be a runner. He's all the things you don't want to be to have old age leg injuries. Do you know what I mean? Like if you were designing someone to fall apart, like that's how you would do it, right? Like you could see sometimes there used to be this old cricketer in Victoria who ended up being a coach for a little while called John Scholes. And by the end of it, they used to call him the barrel. And by the end, he just sort of came out and then came back in again. Like it was ridiculous, his body, right? And it's because he was a bit too thick in the middle. It wasn't like he wasn't an athlete. He was just a bit too thick in the middle. And like his knees just bowed over time and he just became this weird shape. So yeah,
I know exactly.
Not ideal. All right, let's get...
Hang on. I know exactly what that means because I looked at that when I was going through clinical depression. I put on a whole lot of weight. I was only 25 and I looked like I was 40 or something. And funnily enough, at 40, I look like I'm 25. I should show you a picture. I don't know if you'll be able to see
28.
it, but it's oh.
Someone actually said in the last podcast that you look like Guy Fawkes. I don't know if you saw that comment. I don't know if you know who Guy Fawkes is either.
I don't even know.
All about the facial hair.
Yeah.
Guy Fawkes was the guy who tried to take down the English Parliament. Oh, show me. What do you got?
I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm going to try and show it to you.
No, this is exactly what people come here for this podcast, for people who think they're 25 to show us things on their phone. It's the kind of audience. Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were 25 then?
Yeah. I was a week later from this picture. This is 1st of Jan 2012. A week later from that picture is when I attempted to take my own life, and then something stopped me, and that's another story and for another day perhaps. But yeah, I was actually like that, and so I know exactly what you mean. I was literally like a barrel because I had big legs and a big butt, and so for me, I put on weight here, and then suddenly I look like just one little drum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Dhoni's the fit version of it, right? Like Dhoni's not overweight. It's just that he's a thick guy. Like, some people are just built like that. Yeah, it's just, but you just talked about, you taking your own life, and I'm going to take it in such a weird direction. But when you look at distance runners, right, one of the big things with distance runners is how light your legs are. Because if your legs are light, you can repeat the action over and over again, which is why there's all those runners from Kenya with those incredibly long, skinny legs who can run over and over again. Whereas you think of the amount, like Dhoni is thick in his thighs and his legs. So every 2 or 3 he's running, he's putting more pressure on himself than someone else would be, right? And so all body types react differently. And plus he's old. The dude's old, right? Like he's old. Is he older than you?
Yeah. He's a good 4 years older than me. Yeah, he'll be 44 now.
But he looks 22. So it's fine. All right. Don't worry, everyone. I'm not going to get out my fat pictures from when I was the same age, but I'm sure me and Robbie, now we're going to have to do a whole podcast about what it's like to be to get to that weight and then work our way back down again. And then we'll do another one about depression, and then we'll get to all that. But IPL's on at the moment, so I'm going to move forward a little bit. All right. Rashid Khan. What is going on with Rashid Khan at the moment? I went through, and thanks to my friends at MV Play, I watched every single ball of Rashid Khan this season. Right? Like when I do something, Robbie, I go all in. And I basically did about 4 or 5 different categories. I did down leg, right? I did short, I did over pitch, and I did pitched. I did 2 wide, so I did 5 categories. I don't know how many categories I had. There wasn't a lot of categories. The point being is, I'm looking at my notes now. You'd be shocked at how many balls he's actually pitched in the right area, right? Like, the amount of times he's bowled down leg side to right-handers and to left-handers, the amount of times he's bowled too short, and he bowls shorter than other leg spinners naturally anyway. That's part of his game. But I'm talking about short balls that are so short that anyone could get back to them. You don't even need to be a good player. But he's also over pitching as well. So sometimes when you have a wrist spinner who's not bowling at their best, they either struggle with length or line, right? You look at his. I watched these balls about 2 or 3 times over. He's struggling with length and line, right? Like that's really worrying to me. And he also did something in the game against Liam Livingstone where they had, I think Shubman Gill kept the slip in, right? They were really pushing for that last wicket because they had Tim David and they had Liam Livingstone in. They knew one more wicket and they could rush through RCB at that point. And he bowled a ball from like 2 meters back in the crease, which is fine. We see that tactic occasionally. Yeah. Do you remember where it landed, though? It landed about 3 meters back from where he wanted to land it. Like, he has no control of the ball coming out of his hand. And I would say that of all the leg spinners I've ever seen, outside of perhaps someone like Anil Kumble and Shane Warne, I don't think I've ever seen a leg spinner with better control of the ball while putting revs on it. He seems to have just crumbled.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about this. It's something I've noticed, and I want to know how you say you've gone all in, haven't you? I want to test that out a little bit here.
Go.
You noticed when he's come into bowl?
When he's come into bowl, they haven't used him as much at the end of the power play, have they? And they seem to me to be using later.
I think they're using him way later than they should be using a bowler like him. I reckon someone who's considered the best leg spinner in the world should be bowling your 7th or 8th over. I think he's coming on sometimes in the 10th over, sometimes as late as the 13th over. And it seems like they have moved in the direction of using him as a death bowler, right? And I think that, from my observation, doesn't agree with Rashid Khan, the bowler. Now, I think Rashid Khan, the bowler, and the enigma that he is gets into the game. You got to bring your match winners into the game when it's actually primed for them to come into the game, because they create situations, they create instances in the game that change the direction of a game, or get so much momentum going your way that you've closed the match there, right? You're bringing in a match winner when almost as a defensive option, and that has a huge impact on a person's mentality and psyche, right? And if that's foreign to this person, and I haven't spoken to Rashid, like I've just said hi, hello to him in the course of a game, but it's just my observation that if that impacts a person and then impacts their confidence, then you could be the best bowler in the world. You'll still feel like you don't know what you're doing, right? You don't know how to operate from a state of confidence, because see, Kim, this is Kimo, this is a confidence game, buddy. Like any sport is a confidence game. The more you feel good about yourself, the more you do things that you're familiar to you and you're good at, the more confidence you have to do things that are not natural to you. Now, if they're going to use someone like Rashid Khan as your death bowler, then I really think you have to use him in 2 spells, 7 and 9 or 8 and 10, and then 17 and 19. You can't use him, and I've seen this in more than one match where he's bowled 13, 15, 17, 19 or something to that extent, where he's starting itself in the back end of the game, where 50-60% of the game or 55% of the game is already done. You can't bring in a match winner at that point and expect him to perform like he's performed before. And if two games go by where you don't, if 2 games go by where you haven't done well, and then you've gotten taken for runs, then starts affecting your confidence, and then that compounds over on itself. So I think
I understand all that, but if you look at what he does for Afghanistan, this is basically what he's always done for Afghanistan. They don't use him early unless they're, even when they need him early, they sometimes still leave him towards the end, right? So I'm with you. I think he needs, and I think at his very best, I don't even think 7 and 9. At his very best, he bowls the 5th or the 6th over, right? And then bowls maybe one around the 8th, 9th over, and then another one later on, and then save one for the 16th, 17th, 18th, right? So we can say he's not there. But if you were in the SA20, I saw you on lounges on the bank with Mark Nicholas, sipping pina coladas or whatever you were doing during commentary. SA20, he took 12 wickets at 21.5 at 7 runs and over, right? Last year in the IPL, he took 10 wickets at 36 at 8.4. Economy's not too bad, considering it was a high-scoring year. This year, he's got 1 wicket in 3 matches so far at 112. Let's imagine the 1 wicket is fine, because if he takes 3 wickets in the next game, I'm not too worried. But he is going at 11 runs and over. So when I said I went deep, you're right. He is being used in a slightly different role. I'll grant you that. And that might be playing a part of it. Because as you said, he's such a competitor. I don't think we ever talk about that enough. He's like that sort of Virat Kohli type of guy. Like you watch him, he's like, he has to win every moment. So maybe getting him his beans going as Gareth Bale.
Yes.
Top of 40 centimeters. When I say I go deep, I don't muck around. He's 40 centimeters shorter with his length than he used to be. Right? I don't think that is just a Rashid Khan thing. I think that is since Joss Buttler and Patadar and Heinrich Klaas and all those guys play that new, I don't know what you call it, the flat back straight pull shot, the slap, whatever you want to call it. I think that a lot of the spinners are trying to bowl a little bit shorter to stop that shot being as easy as it was. It was invented for that length, 5.5 meter length, right? But he is bowling shorter, mate. And he's also, I think we could say that it's a confidence game and everything else. The ball is not coming out of his hand correctly. I don't fundamentally believe right at the moment the ball's coming out. Now that could be that he has a leg injury, right? It could be that his hand isn't feeling as well as he is. He's a leg spinner, like he's not the first time in that to happen. But confidence will play a part in this. But right at the moment, Rashid Khan at his absolute best would basically land the ball just at or outside off stump every ball. And then the one that would spin back would hit the top of leg stump. And then the one that would straighten would either miss your bat or hit the top of off stump. That is not what he's doing at the moment, right? Like he's not landing the ball in that spot anymore.
So where I'll disagree with you about this is the fact that what you're reading right now, as far as numbers are concerned, they are outcomes, right? As far as wickets are concerned or average is concerned and all of that, those are outcomes,
Yeah.
right? I'm trying to attach this whole thing more to the process of it, right? You got to consider that he became a match winner bowling at certain situations, right?
Yeah.
Notwithstanding his skill. So now when there is a serious lack of utilization of a match winner, and there was a game where he bowled only 2 overs, and then you could have you could have bowled him then again, right? At the end of the day, no matter how good you are, at the end of the day, you're still human, right? You still want to do things. You still go through nerves. You're still anxious before a first game. You still want to perform well, right? Albeit he's coming back from it's been a while, but he's still come back from that back injury and all of that. I do feel like his pace has slowed down just a touch, but even that I feel is a rhythm thing, right? You're not going to be a Rashid Khan, a leg spinner. Like at the end of the day, with spinners, it's always rhythm. How much rhythm do you have coming into a tournament? And how do you find rhythm? Is when you do things that are familiar to you, right? How do you find rhythm? How does a batter find rhythm? For me, as a batter, I find rhythm when I do things and I break things down to keeping it absolutely simple, right? And then when I go into bat in the match, I'm like, okay, I need to get my rhythm going in this game, right? So I need to go assess the wicket. What's the wicket doing? Based on the wicket, I need to figure out, okay, for this wicket, this is the rhythm that I need to find so that I know that I can score runs on this wicket. And then I need to figure out, okay, what are the shots that I can play on this wicket for me to be able to score runs, right? I can't use my whole repertoire on this wicket to the bowlers that I'm facing. There are a certain number of shots that are going to give me high percentage of scoring runs. I need to utilize those shots on this wicket. For those shots, what is the rhythm I need to get into to be able to score runs on this wicket? Similarly, for a bowler, there is a certain rhythm that he'll have to find based on the wicket that he's playing on. On certain wickets, on certain grounds, like say the Chinnaswamy, all bowlers are going to be defensive by nature already, right? It's the few that stand out, like a Rashid Khan, who, when he's in high confidence, where he's thinking, screw the wicket, fuck the ground, I'm just going to go and get wickets here, man. I don't care who's batting against me. I'm going to go there and get wickets. I'm going to try and get him out. I'm not going to worry about the wicket, not the size of the ground, not the conditions. I'm just going to assess this wicket. This is what it's doing. I'm going to pitch the ball there, give myself the best chance to get a wicket every ball. Now, that's when his confidence is high. Now, when his confidence is low on a wicket, on a ground where it's conducive to score big runs, and you've not bowled well, you've not started the tournament, you've not completed your full set of overs being a match winner in the world, you're suddenly thinking, oh, I got to get into a defensive mind space. And then you're kind of battling yourself during the course of a game, like, okay, where do I bowl? What do I bowl? And how do I bowl? And that's where you've kind of have returns that like Rashid has had in Bangalore, And for me, I feel that part has been taken out of the equation. And today, yes, he's going through bad form, but why is he going through bad form? And what could possibly be the reasons of him going through bad form or him not coming back with the returns or the numbers that you've deep dived into, I think is this reason.
Okay.
Let's agree to disagree.
No. Let's disagree to disagree. So I understand what you're saying, but I think even I've seen him in low confidence before, right? 2019 World Cup, the pitches didn't help him the way he wanted to. People milked him a little bit more. He got frustrated. Also, like one day we'll talk about the off-field stuff in that tournament. It was wild. What was going on with Afghanistan cricket at that stage? Absolutely wild, right? He still lands the ball more or less in the right place. And you said before that he looks a little bit slower. I think he looks, the word I would use is stiff. And to go back what you were saying about rhythm, I think there is an element that he doesn't have his rhythm, and it could also be the motivation. But I think he has changed who he is as a bowler. And I think there's an intentional reason why he's changed who he is as a bowler. That might be physical, or it might be the way that batters now play against him. And at the moment, I don't think he's being able to replicate that in the way that he wants to be able to do. So it's weakness. It's also worth saying that we now are in a league where if you miss your length a little bit, you get hit for 4 and 6. Yeah. Yes. Whereas maybe there were previous years where this happened, but everyone was so nervous about Rashid Khan and batters were so worried about losing their wickets that they wouldn't do anything. Whereas now you look, even Tim David's hitting him, right? Like people are just worried about fours. Well, Tim David can't face leg spin. It's all right. Not everyone can face leg spin, right? Like, you know, there aren't many international cricketers I give myself a chance against. I reckon if I bowl 24 balls to Tim David, I get him out once. He might hit me for 26s along the way, but I get him out eventually. Right. But the point being is, I just think now that everyone is ready to pounce on every single mistake, whereas I don't think batters were ready to pounce on Rashid Khan mistakes before. In fact, I think he probably took fewer wickets than he should have at times because people were so worried about facing Rashid Khan. No one looks worried facing him anymore, right? Now, you're facing him like a normal leg spinner, and that's a very different situation than we've ever been in before.
Yeah, 100%. And this I agree with you with. You know, I think the fact that, again, this is one of the downside, or not the downsides, but maybe one of the impacts of the impact player rule, right? Where it doesn't matter who you're playing against, you will go hammer and tongs, and if they make an error, you will climb into that and you will maximize that opportunity. And to that point, I definitely agree with you. You know, I do think that people are a lot more brave to attack the likes of a Rashid Khan compared to what used to be in the past, where you were a little bit more circumspect and you're like, you know, I'm not gonna take this guy on. I'm gonna, you know, just see him off as much as I can. I remember in 2017 when I was going after Rashid Khan, I remember I was able to successfully do it, and I decided, you know, I'm going to bat this guy just on the front foot. I'm not going to play off the back foot at all, right? If he bowls back of a length at 5.5 meter length, I'm going to look to hit him, like pump him down the ground. I'm not going to look to go straight across to the leg side. I'm just going to look to go straight. Whether I have to hit cross batted or hold shape and hit straight down, straight over the top, that's where I'm looking to go. And when I was able to do that successfully to him, he started trying to go over length to me, right? And then his target of attack to me would be try and bowl that over length where I can't get under the ball. So if he erred in length, then I would go. But not a lot of batters at that point were willing to take him on, right? They felt like, okay, that length, that 5.5 meter length to a spinner, I'm going to try and play on the back foot, trying to cut or, you know, pull or sweep for that matter. And because of the fact that he's not the tallest guy and he didn't get the most bounce, the sweep also wasn't the best option to him. But today, and what I've noticed in this IPL is that people are able to sweep him, and I don't know what I could kind of add that up to. Could be because of his pace has come down. Could be because of the fact that he's probably stiff and is probably out of rhythm. He's someone that I certainly see coming back, but I think that will happen would be, you know, probably sooner than later.
The sweeping thing is really interesting because I was there towards the end of Brad Hogg's career, and I'd never really seen people sweep Brad Hogg at all. And the last year he played in the Big Bash, everyone was sweeping him. And I remember looking the data up and going, oh, okay, that's one of his superpowers. Everyone had to hit him down the ground or wait for him to bowl a little bit short. Now, this whole other shot has been opened up, and you saw like average players sweeping him, not even great sweepers of the ball. You faced 41 balls from Rashid Khan, right? How many times do you think you went out in those 41 balls?
I think once or twice.
Twice, not bad. I'll give you that. What do you think your strike rate was against Rashid Khan?
I reckon 135, 140.
Oh, selling yourself short. 156. Hey, yeah. He knew this. I actually told him beforehand. He's trying to pretend to be humble.
Oh, you liar! What a dog.
No, that's a very good record, man. I would take that. 4 4s, 4 6s. All things considered, not too bad. Only 10 dots. You were very good at getting off strike against him as well. Anyway, so I've just thrown you under the bus there. Wait until you hear how much I'm going to throw you under the bus for this one. First question's easy. Just a yes or no. That's all I need from you. Is Rohit Sharma a very good IPL player?
Yes and no.
Oh my God. Well, then the next one's much easier then. Just purely as a batter, is Rohit Sharma a very good IPL player?
Yeah.
So no captaincy, no legacy, no Mumbai nonsense. Purely as a batter, is he a very good player or is he just below that?
I would say, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this for sure.
Yes, you are. That's why I've set you up for this. That's what this podcast is about, getting you as much hate as possible.
Stop receiving hate from the whole Virat thing right now. And you're like setting me up for it now.
That's what I'm doing. Next week it'll be Virat again. Then we'll do Babar Azam for a little while, so you can get some Pakistani hate as well, and then some Kane Williamson stuff in the future, so we can get the Kane fans on board.
Okay,
you haven't.
I'll bite. To be completely honest, I don't think Rohit's lived up to his potential as an IPL player.
So, I mean, that's the correct answer. I know it's hard for someone who's a friend of him and who knows that people on the internet are going to abuse it for the next 2 days, but that's the correct answer, right? But here's my question. How? I don't understand. We just watched him smashing the ball in Test cricket, turning wickets like crazy, revolutionizing the ODI setup for India, certainly being a big part of the T21. And he gets back to the IPL and he becomes prodding Rohit again. Like, who the hell was prodding Rohit? Just hit the ball. That's what you were born to do. He's such a beautiful striker. Why does he become this player, even when they could bat to number 10 if they could bring Corbin Bosch in and just bat as long as he wants. There's no reason for him to bat this way this year.
Yeah, incidentally, his best numbers in the IPL are at number 4 as a batter.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I
think he's a number 4.
How? After, like, for me, that's where I'm actually embattled about this whole thing. I feel like, how are his numbers at number 4 so much better than his numbers at the top of the order? And for a guy who's revolutionized white ball cricket, 50-over cricket, and red ball cricket to a large extent with his batting, I'm like, how are his numbers just not up to scratch compared to what his international numbers are? Because he's so much better than what his numbers define them to be right now. You know, it's just, you just kind of wonder. And for me, I'll tell you something about captains and leaders, right? And I think this holds true even about Virat Kohli. I think that when you've captained and led a side for a certain number of years, and a particular side, right? When you've led that for a long period of time, and then in that ecosystem, when you're not the captain anymore, you are soul searching for a while. You know, even if you go back to another ecosystem and you lead there, you feel like fine there, your performances are fine there. But when you come back to a certain ecosystem where you're not the leader anymore, you suddenly are feeling like, okay, where do I land in this whole ecosystem now? Because I used to run the show now, but I still exist here, but I don't run the show anymore. So how do I kind of navigate through my performances? How do I exist in this ecosystem, so to speak? And I think, and I suspect Rohit is actually going through that at Mumbai Indians as an ecosystem. And I think Virat Kohli went through that in the Indian cricket ecosystem for a good 2 or 3 years, which is why we saw that huge dip in form for Virat Kohli standards, right? Yeah. Where he was, unassailable, so to speak, in the Indian cricket ecosystem, to where he became almost ordinary for a point in time compared to his normal numbers. His numbers were still great. His numbers were still...
I can't believe I've given you a Rohit question and you've decided to still be attacked by the Virat fans.
I think they'll always attack me now. They'll always say, "What have you done?" And who you are. Like, it's gonna be one whole narrative, but it's fine.
Okay,
but listen.
Let's go back to your point though. What you're talking about though is the last 2 years of Rohit, right? Because he was captain up to the last 2 years, but that doesn't explain his entire career, right? Like, there have been plenty of times when they've had good sides, they've had championship winning sides, and he's become a plodder. And as you said, At the top, I think he averages around 27, 28 at the top at a strike rate of about 130. That's a replacement level player. Like, you could find someone else who's nowhere near his
But
talent
again,
to be
that
able
is
to
not
do
bad.
that.
Those are not bad numbers, Kimbo. Those are not
They're
bad
not, no,
numbers,
no.
but they're not
They're not.
Rohit Sharma numbers.
That's the point, right? That's the point. And as you said, when he goes down the order, at number 4, he averages 34 with a strike rate of 131. Those are elite numbers for someone who's played the entire IPL at number 4, right?
And at number 4.
So we would say... Yeah, go.
I'm saying at number 4 in T20 cricket, those numbers are elite numbers.
Crazy numbers. They're so high. Yeah, they're so high, right? And also, he's played like 69 games. It's not like a small sample size at number 4. And he did it between 2011 and 2018. So it's a long period of time. But this is where I come back to. I get your leadership thing, and I understand the recent thing. I mean, I thought at times last year he tried to force the pace a little bit more. It was one of his better, quicker scoring years. But he could take this league and shake it. Right? Like, is there something, I suppose, maybe this is my deeper question. We see the foreign players come in, overseas players come in, right? And they just go nuts, right? Like, we see all these years of these players come in and go absolutely crazy. It seems to me that so many Indian players default to being anchors and default to prodding and knocking the ball around. And I don't understand why, because Rohit Sharma, no one can do what Rohit Sharma does. He can score at 2.5 runs a ball in the power play.
I don't think he's trying to prod, though. I don't think he's trying to just stay there. I just think he's getting out. And he's getting the soft dismissals there. There's certainly soft dismissals there. I don't think it's for a lack of intention, Kimbo. I think it's just mentally, it just feels like something's not right. Maybe physically even, as Rohit has been much fitter in the previous years. I genuinely feel as a Rohit Sharma fan, as a huge fan of his batting, I really hope for his sake he goes away for 6 months, really works on his fitness, and comes back and finishes his career in a way that we know Rohit Sharma, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to see the greats kind of dwindle and then go away, right? You want to see the greats kind of go away on a high, and I think he can afford 6 months away from all forms of cricket, and come back super fit and then, finish on a high. I'd love to see that.
I think the getting out thing is really interesting because from 2017 until 2023, he doesn't average over 30 in a year, right? And the other thing is that he's never scored more than 600 runs in a season. Now, 600 runs is a lot, but there's a few players who've scored big seasons consistently. So he's never... I kind of feel like maybe the prodding is being unfair, but his strike rate isn't exceptional, but he doesn't stay in as long as other players. And again, there's nothing, he's made double hundreds in ODI cricket. Like the math ain't mathing. Do you know what I mean? Like there's something wrong. There's a glitch in Rohit Sharma's matrix here.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it 500 runs in the season or 600 runs in the season?
He 580. Wait, I just had it right in front of me. I think he made 580 in 1 year. I think is the best he's ever made. Oh no, 538. God, he's never gone past 538. So that's a decent amount, like and he averaged 38 that year, strike rate of 131. That was back in 2013, though. And most of his years, he doesn't go past 400, right? Like we're not talking about. This is a guy who bats on a pretty flat wicket in Mumbai, with a pretty good team around him, who's won a lot of championships. And as I said, can actually, the reason we're having this conversation is because in our minds, it's Rohit Sharma, right? And he's up here, but the legacy in the IPL is nowhere near where we have him in our brains.
Again, we're looking at all of his numbers, right? Today we're looking at all of his numbers, Kimbo. And
legacy.
In 2013, so in 2013, was he captain?
Oh, I don't know. Jesus Christ. That's why we need Mumbai fans around.
I think it makes a difference, right? I think it makes a difference to see if he was captain or not. Because when he was captain, the value he brought into Mumbai Indians as a leader, as a captain, I think was, he was captain in 2013. He steps down and Rohit takes over leadership in 2013. So, and he had 538 runs in that season. So, but after that, he was never able to replicate those same numbers. I think because his value as a captain for the franchise was far greater than his value as a batter.
Yeah.
And they had enough solid batters to make up for the lack of that 100, 200 runs that Rohit was perhaps not scoring as a batter. And today he finds himself in a place where he's not captain anymore, and he has to figure out how to perform today for Mumbai Indians as a batter. And that's the soul searching place that I think that he's going through, that similarly someone like Virat Kohli went through as well, right? And so for me, I feel he's in that stage, in that phase, and I think that's where his performances is not coming up to scratch. But it's still up for contention. I think that nobody really knows. I think I'm putting it down to this, but I could be grossly wrong. I don't know, but I think this is what.
No, it's just fascinating to me, and because of his captainship and his leadership, and also the combined weight of all their wins, he's obviously, as you said before, when I asked if he was a very good player, you were like yes and no, and I think you were thinking as a captain and a leader, he's a very good, and as a batter, you probably had downgraded him a little bit. So as an overall player, he's obviously still a massive plus. Like, no one's not saying that you don't want Rohit Sharma, and I remember me and Ben Jones from Cricket Viz a couple of years ago going like, in some ways, he does things that you want Virat Kohli to do, even if they're very similar in the way that they go about things. But Virat Kohli occasionally has a big year with the bat, right? And Rohit has just never done it. It's fascinating to me because, as you said, we're coming towards the end, right? You're talking about him going off and getting fit and coming back, and I understand all that sort of stuff. But we're coming towards the end now anyway, right? Like this is it. And he's going to be remembered as this, I don't know, the Mike Brearley of the IPL, right? Like of this incredible captain who did all this stuff. But
it's
okay. It's okay to say that. No, you know why it's okay to say that, because the vast majority of people who are watching this at the moment don't understand why I use Mike Brearley. So it's okay. It's okay. If they know who Mike Brearley is, I'm in a lot more trouble. But I don't want his legacy to. No one knows who Mike Brearley is. No one, everyone's forgotten about Mike Brearley. Mike Brearley's gone. But the point is that I don't want him to be remembered like that because I know what he can do. I want like one glorious season at the end where he just becomes, and just goes nuts.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. And which is why I think like he should go away and come back. Because, I genuinely feel like the likes of a Rohit Sharma, the likes of a Virat Kohli, the likes of an MS Dhoni, the likes of a Ricky Ponting, or some of the greatest who played in the game have to go off on a high, man. They shouldn't go off on a low. Like those guys are the guys who inspire generations to come ahead in cricket, and I think it's these guys who need to go off on a high for the better of the game, to be honest, because the game will continue to evolve, will continue to exist without these guys. But what they leave with and how they leave the game is also critical for the game.
No, I agree. Couldn't agree more. All right, I've just got a quick one here. I don't think we need to go too deep. I'm wondering what you feel about Jofra Archer at the moment. So we watched him bowl against India. And I think I commentated when he was bowling against the West Indies. I still think that when the pitch is giving him anything, or the conditions are giving him anything, Jofra Archer is still clearly world class. I don't think he's the same version of the killer Jofra Archer of before, because when the pitch isn't doing anything, his slow balls just don't seem to work, and it is not as effective as he used to be in other situations. But I wonder if now Jofra Archer isn't just a new ball bowler, and you bring him on early on, and you bring him on early on and you try and get as much impact as you can, and then you hope that by the end of the game his one last over is more than fine. Like, injuries have clearly changed his physicality. He's a slightly different bowler than he was at his peak. Does that mean we have to use him differently now, or do you just keep using him the same way, hoping that his body comes back?
I like how you say, when I don't want to go deep into this and then ask such a deep question, man.
I don't know why I said that at all. It was a complete lie. I lied to you.
So I don't see a time when Jofra Archer was not a new ball bowler. I thought he was always a new ball bowler, and that's when you get the best out of him. And like, I think Jasprit Bumrah is a new ball bowler, and I think he needs to be utilized as such, and especially against good teams. Mitchell Stark is always a new ball bowler. You can't bring him on the fourth over of a T20 game. You bring him on the first.
But there's a difference between a new ball bowler who bowls like one or two and sort of that sort of Hazelwood, Bhuvi Kumar, Chahal type bowler, where you just like, you want to front load their overs. So I'm wondering now if we front load him, whereas before, even though he was a great new bowler, you use him at the end as well.
Yeah, so I reckon I still genuinely deem Jofra as a match winner. I just think that his time away from the game has changed not just his physicality but also his mentality. Again, I'll come back to this whole point that I think sport is a confidence thing, and how good you feel about yourself, and how aware you are of your own physicality, and what you think you're capable of doing, and what your convictions believe that you're capable of doing, right? If you're convinced of yourself that, hey, my body can do this, and this is what the outcome of it will be, and you believe that and you're convinced of it, then that's what your reality will be. If you're doubtful of what your physicality will allow you to do, and then what the outcome of it could be, then what your convictions are at that point in time, the outcomes also will be as such. Today, I think Jofra is in a place of rediscovery of himself as a bowler post injury. He's going through that phase now. Till say that India series that he played right now, I think there was a lot of doubt even within himself as to how long will he last before something else turns up, because over the last 3 years, that was what was happening to his body. As in, every time he was trying to come back, something else turned up. He tried to come back, something else turned up. And then suddenly, as an individual, as a person, there's a serious lack of faith in your own body, right? And how much can you get out of yourself when you don't trust your own body, and what will come up again as an injury? We are seeing the outcomes of that today from Jofra Archer, right? I think he needs to go through a period of a couple of years without injury, where he's able to trust his body again. And I don't think we'll see the best of Jofra Archer as we've seen in the past. We'll probably see 80 to maybe at best 90-95%. We won't see 100% of what we've seen in the past, is what I think, because he's also aging. It's also it's the toughest skill in cricket, and perhaps in the world, in sport. I think it's one of the toughest skills to go out there and execute, when you're putting 8 times your body weight through one half of your body at every delivery that you bowl. So it's not a physically aligning like skill. It breaks you, it tears you apart as physically as a skill. So I don't think we'll see the best of Jofra Archer, but we can hope, as supporters of cricket and supporters of Jofra Archer, that we hope to see him at a 95%. And I think they won't front end him. I think at best, and I'm hoping that in a year's time, we'll get to see that 90-95% of Jofra Archer again. But I think that will take a while, and people need to be patient and accepting that he needs to get there, and they need to kind of use him well.
I get that. I think at the moment, just because he's not at 90-95% and he's probably at 80-85%, I just think that when the pitch is suiting him, you let him try and win the game for you, because he will feel better in himself right at that stage. Whereas probably before, you might only bowl him 2 overs at the top, because you're like, well, even if the game gets away from us, he'll pull it back at the end. Whereas now you might think, give him 3 overs at the top so he can go through. But I take all that. All right. 2 quick ones just at the end. I say that, they won't be, but 2 quick ones at the end. I've seen now people are starting to turn on the sunrises, right? And you're already starting to see the phrase. You can already see people saying boom or bust. I think the issue at the moment is that the Sunrisers team is not quite as good as it was before, rather than anything else. But the way that the Sunrisers play, there should be periods where they struggle, right? Because they should collapse quite a few times, because you can't keep pushing your foot down to the floor and expect it to work every single time. So I think as fans, we have to understand that they are going to lose a string of games together. But do you have bigger concerns beyond that with that team?
I reckon they don't have a contingency plan if things start to go south. If things start to go south, they don't have a contingency plan. And if you don't have a contingency plan to the kind of cricket you've decided to play, then it's going to be bust. It's going to be boom or bust, right? There are no half measures there. I reckon the way to mitigate the situation is to have 1 or 2 guys within that batting order of 8 people who are going to go hammer and tongs. You have 1 or 2 guys who are allowed to play a sheet anchor role. Maybe 1 guy in that top order, 1 guy, if there's a collapse of the top order, in the middle order to do the role. And you don't have to do it all the time. You do it as a mitigation process, basically when things go south, right? If you lose 3 quick wickets in that first 6 overs, you have one guy saying, okay, I'm going to bat through to the end. I'm going to get the other guys set up, do a mini partnership, get a mini partnership going, get a small partnership going, and then I continue to play the role of an anchor, and then they start going again. The rest of them start going again, right? That's what needs to happen. At the top, you get off to a great start, 70 for no loss in 6 overs. One of the 2 openers say, I'm going to consolidate. He's going to go hard. And I'm going to, then so that everyone can come in and go hard at all times because I'm set already. Worst case scenario, we lose 3 wickets in a row. I bat to the back end and I get 100 and we still get to 250 or whatever, right? There needs to be a contingency plan. Otherwise, it's going to be 50-50 just as it is right now. There are going to be games where they look like a gazillion bucks, and then there'll be games where they look like paupers.
I don't want any of that to happen because that sounds boring, your plan. Really, really boring. I would prefer them to be bowled out for 120 or make 300. In fact, this whole 155 thing. I gamble a little bit. You know, I'm around. No, look, I just think that they're a fun team, and they are built differently. I get it. Who is the person in that lineup? Is it Reddy? Is Reddy the guy that does it? Because he's quite young. Oh, there you go. Varun, our producer coming through. He's a weird one to sort of make into that sort of player, though, isn't he? Because he is young and he is quite an attacking player in his own way as well. I reckon did they have Kane last year? I think they did, didn't they? Like, that's probably why they had Kane there as that sort of backup in case you needed it. Yeah, it's a fascinating one for me because I kind of just think they're not as good as they were last year. And the team is slightly weaker in some ways. But I wonder if their bowling hasn't just stood up as well. Like, they've added, Mohammad Shami and Adam Zampa. Zampa's already out of the side. Mohammad Shami just hasn't been taking wickets, right? Oh, they had Markram as well, last year. You look at their bowling attack, they brought in more strike bowling, and they haven't really struck. So it goes back. Last year, they were winning on one side of the ball, right? They were literally winning with the bat, and they were out-batting everyone. This year, they've made their team slightly more round, but the bowlers haven't quite stood up the way that you probably would want them to at the moment as well.
But you said it, didn't you? As in even last year, who was the highest wicket taker? It would be great if one of the producers can share what the.
It would be great if someone had done some research when we ask a question like that, and then it could spring up on the screen. I mean, they bowled very defensively. It'd be what's his name? Their fast bowler. Who was the young, not young anymore, the left armour, the really good bowler?
Marco Jansen.
The Indian bowler, who I really like, and whose name I can't say now.
Dhoni, Khalil Ahmed.
No, he was a proper bowler. Anyway, they had one good bowler last year. They had a really good bowler who bowled at the death, who took lots of wickets for them. And so they don't...
Right. So my thing is, last year they got to the finals on the back of their batting, right? Now, if the batting, but their bowling, I think, because every time they scored 280 or 290 or 286 or 284, the opposition team also scored 250. So they were they were high scoring encounters. That's
Natarajan. That's who I was going for. I knew who he was. I could see his face. I could tell you how his face worked. But you're right. Even with him, he's a defensive bowler. So they were winning with the bat. That for me is a bigger issue for them than I think the boom or bust.
To go that way. They've decided to go the way where they're trying to win the championship with their batting, right? Now, and they've decided to go a certain way, take the full advantage of the impact of the impact player rule and the impact player rule and basically try and win it on the back of that. What are the chances of that going to happen? I would say I'd give them a 40% chance that's going to happen, right? 4 out of 10 times that probably will happen, maybe slightly lesser even. But for me, I think you need to, like I said, it's bang or bust, it's boom or bust, but they need to have something to mitigate those mini collapses that we've seen over the last few games. If they don't have a plan for that, we'll see more of boom or bust.
All right, let's just finish with Tilak Varma. He's retired out off 23 off 25 the other day. He wasn't fully fit. Do we count this as a retired out? Or do we... For me, it almost looked like he was just not fit,
Doesn't
and
matter
that's
what
why
you
he wasn't
think
in the
or-
field.
Doesn't matter what we consider. In the books, it'll be counted as retired out.
That's fair. Okay, I'll give you that. Although, this is a tip for young cricketers. Even if you are struggling, it is much better to fake an injury and retire retire through injury, because then you can come back on in a few balls time if you have to and your team doesn't lose a wicket. I'm not saying that Kieron Pollard did that once for the West Indies. I'm just saying that's a much better strategy than retiring out, because your team doesn't lose a wicket. Just putting that out there. There's no reason to retire out. Have you ever retired out? Would you retire out if you were in a situation like that where you just couldn't whack the ball?
I'd pretend to have cramps, or I'd say I'm dizzy and just like...
Yeah. I think exactly what Kieron Pollard did at a World Cup. We are going to see this more often. The actual tactic makes sense, right? He was stuck and you needed someone to come in and hit boundaries. I think you and I are probably both pro the idea of getting someone else in if you know you can't hit a boundary.
Ashwin did that once before, as in Ashwin did that, I think, in Mumbai. He was the first one to do it in the IPL.
Ashwin was the first in the IPL. Then we had Sai Siddhartha did it in a playoff. And I think someone else did it as well. Was it Ty Day might have done it as well? So we've had 4 in the IPL. Do you know what? It happens a lot in women's associate cricket, where there's like a woman out there who just can't hit the ball and will just go, it's not my day, and she'll just walk off. It's hilarious watching it happen. So it's a tactic that will come into the game, because especially as these tournaments get higher and higher scoring, right? Like, you've got to get a player who just knows it's not his day. Like, there's that famous Lendl Simmons innings where it was like, the longer he batted, the worse form he got in. It was never going to flip for him, right? And looking back, if he'd walked off, they would have been in a better position.
It's one of I think the sadder things about our sport is that our bad days are there for the world to view and criticize, right?
Yeah.
Our bad days in the office are there for the world to view and criticize and have an opinion about. Like, we're not allowed to have bad days at work. It's going to happen. We're going, as life in general, you fail more than you succeed, but you just make sure when you do succeed, you maximize it as much as possible. And I think it's just in the cutthroat world of professionalism, I think you're treated on your performances, right? And I think for the sake of Tilak Verma as a youngster, there is a lot of empathy for him. And I think today the likes of us will discuss the fact that, hey, it's bound to happen. You're allowed to have a bad day at work, and that's okay, right? Was the decision on? Perhaps yes. Was it the right time to pull that decision off? I don't think so. I think if you're going to make that decision of retiring him out, you should have done it 2 overs before. So at least the good guy coming in should get the best chance to be successful at chasing down that score. If you felt that Tilak Verma wasn't hitting the ball well, and you felt that the last you want to take him out, as a group you got to decide to take him out, saying, okay, you know what, the next guy going in must have a chance, right? Here Santner played 2 balls in the last over.
Yeah, I mean, right? Exactly. He had to hit 6s every ball by that point, didn't he? So not 6s every ball, but he had to hit boundaries quite regularly. I want to go back to what you said before as well. How much the game is changing. When you and I were growing up, as a batter, if you had a bad day, it was usually over pretty quickly, right? Like there were some days when you would struggle through an innings, but you would be seen as being honourable to struggle through that innings. Like, you weren't batting well today, but you got a 30 and we got a partnership of 60 and the other guy made runs and well done. Or you stopped the flow of wickets, right? Whereas bowlers were the opposite, right? Bowlers, if you had a bad day, poor Mitchell Johnson has to bowl for the rest of the day, despite the fact that in his head he's like, this isn't working. I can't land the ball where I want it to. T20 cricket has flipped that, and one-day cricket as well. You see now an innings in T20 cricket and one-day cricket where someone will bat forever and pull their side from a good position to a bad position by staying out there. And so it's a completely different way of thinking about the game. And so that's why this whole idea of retiring out or retiring hurt doesn't... Like, it's going to become a conversation, because there are going to be days where you might get to 20 off 25 and you're just like, I can't do it. I can't do what the job is today. So I'm going to pull myself out. And as you said, we shouldn't be looking at that as a weakness. We should be looking at that as a strength, because you should know yourself. Whereas the worst thing that could happen is if he'd batted all the way to the end, they might have even got further behind, right? Like that was the situation that they were getting into.
Yeah. I remember a day where I wish someone had given me the option to retire out. My last game for KKR was a tough one for me. It's probably the worst day in the office I had for KKR, where I, for some reason that day, I just couldn't get the ball off the bat. I ended up scoring 47 of, I think, 40 balls, I think, my last game for KKR. But man, I couldn't catch a break that day. Nothing. Like literally, I was praying to God, Kimber. Like, listen, just six are out, please. Enough. What is this? Six are out. I don't want anything else in between. And there were balls. I was just trying to whack it. I would just go and fall in no man's land at the Wankhede. It's like when it rains, it pours. It was like that. And you got to empathize with, like, for me, I have a lot of empathy for guys who have a bad day, and we got to talk about it in good light. I think, I think, and again, the narrative will set, because I reckon, much like the run out at the non-striker's end, at the bowler's end, it was viewed badly upon, but no one was talking about the fact that the batter was cheating, leaving the crease early. That is not on as well, right? But then now, as it happened a lot more, there was a middle ground that's found. Now today it's not frowned upon, right? It's still like, hey, you're breaking the rules of the game. And then you expect us not to get you out because it's
the difference game. Is like, now there was no conversation before. Like before, it was literally if you left the crease and you were run out, it was the bowler's fault, and the bowler had a moral issue. Whereas now, there are still people who feel that way, and they're idiots, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But there are other people who are like, wait a minute, get into the crease. I don't know if you know this, Rob. They actually put a line down before the game that you're supposed to stand behind during that period. We call it a crease. It's got white chalk. It goes right across. You can see it. It's very easy. You know where to put your bat. There's no reason to be in front of that. And it's a bit the same with this. I can understand there'll be some old cricketers who'll be like, it's your job to get runs and everything else. And it's like, well, no, in this situation, if you know you can't do the job, right, it's the better thing for your team is to go to the team and just go off. It'll get where it'll get murky, and this will be interesting to how you think. I think in the future it'll get more murky when captains and coaches start to pull people off, right? Because that's when you might, that's a harder situation to manage, right? Like, sorry, buddy, you're done. Come in now.
Yeah, that's I think that's something that one needs to kind of tread lightly on. I think you need to, like, if you want to bring them out, I think it has to be an independent decision. And I think they got to, again, now imagine Tilak went off in the 16th over where he felt like, it's not working today, I'm just going to retire out, right? Because I want my team to win this game. Just the narrative around that whole decision would have been so different. It wouldn't have been about him not batting well or not being good enough on that day, but it would have been like, hey, what an incredible guy. At this point, even though he was not batting well as a youngster, it would look bad on his personal narrative. He stepped out and walked out, and because he wanted his team to win the game. He would have made, the narrative would have shifted and it would have been made to look like a real hero for his side, right? Because it's also about self-sacrifice. It's also about the team winning, but it's also about yourself. But if you can put the team ahead of yourself in a situation like that, you will look really cool, right? And I think that in situations where the coaches and the captains feel they're not good enough on that particular day, send a bottle of water across to him. Say, hey, you know what? You have the option to exercise this on the team's benefit. Would you like to do it? Leave the onus on them.
I agree. I mean, imagine you're playing at Wankhede and you made 40 of 47 balls, right? And you hit 1 4 and 3 6s, and you ended up with a strike rate of 85. You just want your coaches to come and tell you to come off the field. Just having a look here. Chris Lynn, you were batting with Chris Lynn. He had a strike rate of 141. He almost doubled your strike rate while you were out there that day. Oh, that's awful. It's awful, isn't it? It's like, I remember this is different.
I've won a championship. I've won a championship for KKR. I've won the orange, the first player in the IPL to win the orange cap and the IPL in one season. I've performed consistently well for KKR, but a big bunch of my fans, a big bunch of the supporters of KKR remember me only for this innings.
I remember I had an editor at Cricinfo called David Hops who literally took me aside one day and he goes, "Do you think you're going to write the best piece every day? Or are some days you're just going to write something a little bit crap and you don't need to worry about it?" Last question. Varun's just come up with this. Is there an objective way to decide when a player should be retired out, or is it subjective? I think it's just you're always
about it.
I would say, and you're big on team leadership. The biggest problem that we have in cricket is we don't talk enough, right? So beforehand, everyone should know what situation. Yeah, I mean, we talk enough on this podcast to make up for the rest of cricket.
We talk a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, but before the game, you should be having these conversations of, okay, what's our thought process on retired out? Okay, so if you're out in the field and you become like Robbie and you can't even get yourself out on purpose, right? That's a point at which you can pull yourself off. And then as a team, if we get to a position where we're like, we don't think we can win from where we are at the moment, we're going to make a decision from off the field. But everyone has to know about this beforehand, because what happens in cricket too often is no one has these discussions, and then something happens, and it's like, and everyone's really upset. Some guy's walking off and no one knows why he's walking off the field.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's a leadership thing. And how the leadership group within a team, a franchise, navigates through this. You need to be able to communicate this. And it's really important to make sure that communication is clear. And with the best teams or the most successful teams, you will find guys or leaders within that group who communicate well. You want to maximize that opportunity and make sure you communicate well to the people on board and say that, hey, I think, what do you all think? And make a cohesive kind of decision. Sit down with the group, with the leadership group, and say, hey, this is what we think. What do you all think individually? And these are where the longer conversations should happen, right? And say, okay, have a longer conversation as a group, as a leadership group, and say, this is what we think with batters. And they're going to have bad days where you're exercising empathy as a leader and still making a decision in the best interest of the team, right? So you're getting the best of both worlds, and you're being truly not just a good captain of the whole ship, but you're being a great leader. You've been an inclusive leader, right? And you say, hey, we've discussed this as a leadership group, and this is the consensus as a leadership group. What do you all think? As a whole, what do we think? Like, if batters are having bad days and they're not able to, for example, like you said, like Robin, he was trying to get himself out, but still wasn't getting out. If you're having days like that, what we think that it's best for you all to come out. Can we send a bottle of water across to you all and say, hey, if you think it's not working out for you and you feel like out of sorts today, more than welcome to come back out. It will not be held against you. Everyone's allowed to have a bad day in the office.
Just to finish this entire conversation and this podcast today, do you know who made the who made the winning runs for Mumbai that day?
Don't want to know. I can't remember anything from that day. It's such a blur. I was the vice captain of the team, Kimbo.
Rohit Sharma. Just to bring it back to the start of the podcast from earlier, he made 55 or 48. To be fair, he wasn't completely smashing it as well. So an interesting one there. Thanks to Path Right Winger and anyone who was in the comments today. Remember, throw us a like, because that helps with the algorithms and everything. Subscribe to Robbie's channel if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed. We'll be back again next week, and you can find all these clips on the socials and find us on the socials and everything else. But that's all I have for this week. Next week, I'll be looking up what other teams Robbie might have actually... Oh, we got Super Chats. Oh, okay.
Super Chat.
Oh my God. Okay, let's fly through the Super Chats. Robbie stepping down the track to Brett is my childhood. I had to say this. Wow. I mean, it's not the greatest childhood in the world, is it? Sega says, Robbie, big fan. You were a great batsman. Could you have played for India more? Do you play politics? Oh my God. Or were there things you could have done more? That should be an easy thing for him to answer.
Could I have played more? Yes. But if I had made myself, if I had kind of played with the perspective of wanting to play from one position alone, because I got into the team as an opening batter, but I made myself available to play from number 1 to number 8, which is a very conscious decision. So because of that, I said, I'll bat anywhere. And I played 50 games for India. I think in every third innings, you should do the deep dive if that's true or not. From my understanding, every third innings I batted in a different position, and I batted from number 1 to number 8 for India. And I think which is why I didn't have a longer career for India. If I batted those 50 games or 49 games in one position, I probably would have had a much longer career. And it was a conscious decision to play as a team, man, and to be available for my team wherever they needed me. So do I have any regrets? No, I don't. Do I blame politics? No, I don't blame politics, because this was a conscious and a very conscious decision that I made as an athlete, that I want to be available to play anywhere that I can for my country. But when I played the IPL,
you have a versatile game, so it's easier for you to bat in multiple positions than for other players. But that also means that you end up being a backup guy rather than a frontline guy, right? Because you're then seen as the guy of like, I always talk about someone like Joe Denley, who was in every squad for England for a couple of years, but they didn't actually think he was the best player. But they were like, he can open the batting and he can bat at number 7 and he can kind of go anywhere in between. Yeah.
So,
all right. Andy says, do you understand why CSK are underbowling their spinners despite having good matchups for the spinners and playing 38 crawls? I don't think Ashwin's quite bowled at his best yet, and I don't think their home pitch has spun as much as they thought it was going to. It's definitely one worth watching.
I never thought Ashwin needed a wicket that helped as much. I just thought it would make him more dangerous. I genuinely feel he bowls a carom ball too often in T20 cricket. I wish he'd trust his off spinner a little bit more, because he has degrees of turning the off spinner. He bowls a great undercutter as well. I wish he would go and trust that a little bit more against right-handers, because I genuinely believe you can be a lot more effective. He can be a lot more effective with his orthodox off spin against right-handers. I don't think they've been underbowled. I just think they've been bowled in not at the right places. I think Ashwin is an outside the power play off spinner. I think that's where he thrives the most. I think, and you got to utilize your best spinners there and find that in between bowler to bowl. I think the top 6 needs to be bowled by fast bowlers.
I also think they're trying to do a similar thing that they used to do with Moeen Ali and Jadeja, which is you don't actually want them to both bowl 4 overs. You want them to combine for about 5 to 6 and then use matchups a little bit. So there's probably a small part of that. Parth says, what is more true, Sky is special or Iyer, Pant, Pandya, KL, Gill need to be in therapy for fear of loss of wicket and confidence batting? Again, these are great questions, but that's probably one for another day. But the question is, I think that what he's basically asking is, why do so many of these other Indian players become anchors when Sky has decidedly not to be an anchor? But that is like a 48-minute conversation. I'm not even going to let Robbie answer that because I know how nerdy we would both get on this one.
Yeah.
ABCD says, how has the IPL changed since first edition? Well, Lalit Modi's not as involved as he used to be. When did it become a serious competition? I think it probably starts to become serious 2011, 2012. What do you think?
2011 is when it got really serious.
Yep.
After the second, not the first auction for the IPL, but the second auction, the mega auction, but it got really serious.
No, I think that makes sense. Walkie Live says, since 2023, Dhoni.
Like, listen, ABCDEF actually paid $200 to ask a question. Let's read the entire question out, man.
No, well, he asked 3 questions, actually. Yes. He asked question 1, question 2. I asked 2 of his questions.
What used to happen in the parties during the first IPL?
Oh, my God. I didn't see that. I didn't see the Vijay Mallya question. Can I just say, I would never knowingly not... you and I could do a really good... You and I... We could do a great episode just on Vijay Mallya stories.
Hey, I can't hear you, man.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Can you guys hear Kimbo? Because I can't hear Kimbo. Or am I muted off?
What's he done?
You're muted off, Kimbo. I think you muted yourself off somehow. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh my God.
Can you hear me though? Yeah, I can't hear you. I don't think anyone.
We can hear both of you. Don't worry.
You can hear us both. Okay, so I can't hear him. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear him?
Let me just.
No, he can't hear him either.
I'm just going to read the question. Cricketfo has listed 2017 T20 World Cup going to change cricket. How different would cricket and IPL be if Pakistan had beaten India in that game?
Okay, how different would IPL cricket be if Pakistan had beaten India in that game? Holy crap, cricket would have been different. Would the IPL still happen? Yeah, maybe with a little less fan and fervor, but I reckon Bollywood would probably not have been involved as much if Pakistan had won that World Cup. But I think, some things are destiny, and they were destined to be that way. Yeah.
What happened to Mayank Agarwal?
What happened to Mayank Agarwal? Nice. I reckon, as my personal opinion is that technically he's kind of pigeonholed himself into not exploring his technique. I reckon if he explores his technique a little bit, I think his technique is quite limiting And he has scored runs, but I think his technique will allow him to score runs at the first class level. But if he comes here, his technique will not allow him to. He needs to address his technique if he wants to score runs at this level, at the IPL or the level above that.
Ponting demoting Shashank
for stoiness on Indian pitches looks very bad in his show. Well, Chirag, well said. You said it, and I'm glad someone in the fans are saying it. Well, Shashank, I think, is top notch, and I think you want guys. And I think with Australian coaches that has happened a lot in the IPL, and don't think it's going to stop happening. And I genuinely am of the belief that we should move past Australian coaches in the IPL level. Not that they're not good. I think as head coaches, you need to have Indian guys, but I think you need to have Australian mentors and not coaches. The decision making has to be with the Indians.
Robbie can't hear me, so he doesn't know that I'm saying, but make sure that you keep hiring Australian analysts. See, he can't hear. I can say whatever I want.
Can you take the earphones off so I can at least hear it? How do you compare IPL scoring to versus leagues in like the NBA? I think we're getting to a really robust scouting system in India right now. I think it's really, really healthy and it's really cool. I think the discoveries are really nice. But I reckon I've always voiced this opinion that the auction system is not something that I appreciate. And I think we should move to a draft system or a hybrid version of something of that sort. I think there should be a more respectable version of putting players and signing up players into teams. I think should we really be selling people as commodities? Oh, next question. Devang says, are some MI players underperforming on purpose? No, man. Nobody underperforms on purpose. There's too much on stake. There's too much at stake for them. This is where careers are made. So at the IPL level, I don't think anyone's underperforming on purpose.
Oops. Now I can't get the last one up. Oh,
any more questions? Can you hear them?
We got one last one. Can someone put it on the screen? It won't come up for me. Oh.
Does IPL need 8 overs? 8 overs swinging white ball. Yeah, sure. As in you say what you say. I think we could. I think the quality of the Kookaburra balls have dropped quite a bit. There was a time when we would use the Kookaburra balls, which would last 40 overs, and now the Kookaburra white balls stop swinging after 2 overs. And in those balls, when they lasted 40 overs. In a 50-over game, it would swing for the good 10 overs and with only 1 white new ball, right? Not 2 white new balls. After these 2 white new balls have come through, even in 50-over games, they don't, like 5 overs from each side is what they swing. And after that, they don't swing at all, and so I think the quality of the white Kookaburra ball has dropped considerably. Say bye. Bye, guys. I can't hear Kimbo. We'll have to figure what that's all about. But this has been a fun episode, guys. Oh, man. Do CSK need to move on? Yes, I've been saying not move on, but I think they need to rebuild.